All right, this will be episode 80. We made it to episode 80.
We here.
What?
So we here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get all of that?
Did you get all that? Did you get all that?
All of that.
We're going to be an acapella group.
There we go.
All right, so you guys ready for this episode?
I think I'm just about done skimming through all the stuffs again.
All right, no frills. We're all out of energy. If it's only a half-hour episode, that's okay. It was Halloween this week, and Anthony has a baby, so you know.
Yeah, go with that.
Welcome to the A4NB4Y podcast, the Legend of Zelda theme podcast where we go chapter by chapter through the game. This week we're covering the Caster Wilds. I'm your host, Ryan Fonzie, and I am a pair of Pegasus boots. With me, as always,
I am Cameron Heggie, and I will suck your blood.
And I'm Anthony, and I'm a bottle, but a bottle if you took all the stees out of it. It's a steesless bottle.
Jeezless bottle.
I hear those are going pretty high on eBay these days.
Empty bottles. Speaking of empty bottles, remember last episode we were talking about side quests, and I guess I told you guys that I went and did a Kinstone fusion with Master Smith. If you do that, the thing you get is another empty bottle. So I was yeah. Last time I was like, it wasn't another Kinstone, it wasn't Mysterious Shells, and I couldn't remember what it was. It was an empty bottle. It was actually really good, and I wish I had remembered. So Master Smith was like the move last.
I'm gonna have to go back.
Yeah.
Master Smith's bottle should come with stees.
Oh yeah.
Does it have a red potion in it?
It has nothing.
That's basically
It's
Steve's.
actually
Oh,
empty.
dang it.
I think I said
Can
empty.
we talk about like this episode? And I don't know if it was just me. Maybe it's luck. Maybe it's random. But from my run to the start of Caster Wilds to the end of this entire area,
Yeah.
I feel like the count of kinstones that I received, excluding required kinstones, which we'll get to, I feel like I got at least 30. Am I wrong?
There's a bunch in the dungeon, and then like just RNG for the rest of it. If you're like cutting weeds and fighting enemies, you can get a bunch, but I don't remember getting 30. That sounds excessive. Yeah, that might have just been luck.
I probably got like
did cut,
12 to
like, every
15
bush.
kinstones. I also kind of OCD cut the bushes and kill most of the enemies. But
Well,
I was annoyed at how many I got out of chests, I'll tell you that. Every chest I got, I was like hoping it was rupees or something good, and it was a kinstone. I'm like,
Don't do some side quests. Don't spend them all in one NPC.
I don't think I could.
My link went to the mayor, and the mayor gave him a job, his first business, to basically be a landscaper if I rule. So Link's like a traveling landscaper in my game, so we just got to cut everything down.
Nice.
There you go.
But it makes sense. I mean, I think we'll get to it, but an item that we get through this section really opens up the Kinstone game quite a bit. So it makes sense that they would kind of load you up with Kinstones right before you get to that point. But yeah, no, it's cool. But speaking of Kinstones, the Caster Wilds is all about Kinstones.
It is. And I didn't even realize it until I'd already completed it.
Yeah.
Nice. The gist of this section is you are traipsing through a giant swamp, complete with all kinds of swampy enemies, including this new statue that is difficult to get past until you get a specific item out of a cave.
Very hype item.
Very hype item.
Random.
And as you go through this
A little
swamp,
bit.
you will find 3 hidden golden kinstones that are used to make some totems happy at the end of the swamp.
Yeah, we do.
Once all 3 totems are happy, they do ground pound, each one that destroys a barricade that lets you into the new area. So it's a little bit of a Indiana Jonesy kind of Temple of the Forbidden, whatever you want to say, situation going on.
So can we talk about like the layout? Because if not only do you get lost in the swamp, in the sauce swamp, but you guys remember Rogue Heroes, the game that we played for a little bit? Little
Yeah,
bit with you
dude.
guys?
And that game, or just shout out to Rogue Heroes. Let me just do a little bit of research here just so that we can share about it. Wow. Okay. Apparently there was a movie called Rogue Heroes. So let me look up the video game. And it was like a war movie. All right. What do we got? Here you go. Rogue Heroes Ruins of Tassos. Tassos? I don't know how you pronounce it. But it was developed by Heliocentric Studios and released by Team 17 in 2021. So much later than this game, but I think I know where you're going with this.
Right. So the second dungeon, or I guess like area you get to in this game, Rogue Heroes, Ruins of Tassos, I feel like those developers are huge Minish Cap fans because when I got here and I saw the bridges and the swamps and the multi layers and plateaus, I instantly thought of Rogue Heroes. And I feel
Right.
like the development team of Rogue Heroes either gave like a huge like artistic shout out to Nintendo for this one and just kind of like made their own version of it, or is kind of like a let me copy your homework and I'm gonna add on to it kind of situation, because that's
Right.
how I felt.
So it's worth noting that Rogue Heroes is very much a Zelda like. In fact, there's a class that plays almost exactly like a Link to the Past uh, style gameplay with like the sword fighting and whatnot. But you can choose a number of different classes to go through the game. But even if you don't choose the one that fights like Link, you will be going through maps that are you as you're playing it, you'll be like, yeah, they really love A Link to the Past.
In Rogue Heroes, I just remembered this, but you need some boots to make it like through the second part of the swamp.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I just
you
thought
gotta
of
have
that.
boots.
So not only do you need to get special footwear, but they take you to a swamp that is extremely reminiscent of this game. I mean, I think I remember that there's like a little swamp village in that one that you have to find your way to or something like that. But this one, you just have to make it through the swamp. But yeah, I had the same thought when I got to this again because I played this game for the first time just a few years ago. But I've played Rogue Heroes since then, and when we got to the swamp, I was like, huh. That's odd. And then when I got to this game, because I didn't even click then when we were playing Rogue Heroes, but when we got to this part of the game, it was like you need boots, and then you go to the swamp. And I was going through the plateaus, and I had the same feeling as you of like, I just played this in a different game. This is
Yeah.
it's a little too familiar.
Yeah. Definitely some inspiration.
Yeah. But shout out to Rogue Heroes. That's a good one. I mean, if you want to do like multiplayer Zelda, that's probably better than any of the Four Swords games.
Yeah.
And it's like $1, so can't go wrong.
Yeah. It's good stuff. But yeah, we're going through this swamp, and
And basically, our first order of business is to go get an item you don't expect to randomly find in a swamp cave.
oh yeah, we gotta get the ba bow.
The bow. Usually hidden away in a dungeon behind a mini boss, but this time it's in a swamp.
Yeah.
I mean, there was kind of a mini boss. It was Tokyo Drift.
I mean, you're not wrong, but at the same time, like,
Was it just a bunch of the bulldozers
Yeah,
guarding the bow?
it was like 5 of them, and they were the blue ones, so, like, they were constantly always drifting.
yeah, they were just going.
Oh, right. You walk into the room and they're just all like, "Let's get them right now, immediately." It's the whole thing.
It was actually kind of annoying. I hit quite a few times trying to fend them off. I couldn't predict their drift style, bro. Their drift steez.
Well, there you have it. I don't remember like where it actually was on the map.
I think it was in the top left, right?
Yeah, there's a business scrub at the top of the first level that you can talk to, and he's like, "Oh, Merle, I'd sell you some arrows, kid, but I don't got any. You don't got a bow. You don't got a bow, you
Oh.
see?" And then if you like literally just walk to the left and get small, you go through like a little water course with the vacuum.
Oh,
What's it
okay.
called?
That I do remember. Yeah, the gust jar. You gotta
Yeah,
like go past a bunch of water lilies on like on a little creek, kind of.
yeah.
Like there's like one little clear spot where the water's clean in the swamp, and so there's flowers growing, and you gotta shoot your way through those. I do remember that.
Then you fight the little buggies, and then you get the bow.
Treasure chest and a bow that you get. You get it when you're minish size, and then you grow up and bring the bow with you. Anybody notice that the flowers were blue, red, and yellow, which I think is supposed to be like a reference to the Triforce colors, even though yellow's not one of them. I just feel like they didn't want to make it green because it would look like leaves, so they swapped in yellow just because. I guess it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if somebody like did that thinking they were making a special moment, but the game does not treat it as special at all. It's just like, yeah, just go get the bow. You're fine.
Yeah, get past these flowers as fast as you can.
Yeah. But those that bow allows us to get past statues that are in the swamp. There's like a like Igor statues almost, right?
Stachyptic statues.
Yeah. Yeah. They are reminiscent of a Link to the Past enemy, the ones that are like blue and red and only come to life when you get close to them. Except these ones come to life when you shoot them the first time. But they block some critical paths to get your special kinstone, so once you get the bow, next order of business is kind of like getting through some of them.
Yeah, they're kind of littered around the map, some blocking like a shortcut or two to get here and there, some blocking like an area you could get to with an item or two.
Yeah. And from what I recall, of the 3 kinstones that we're after, the only one that's like that really stands out to me is the one where you have to fight a dark nut.
Yeah.
There's one where you walk into the room and it's like straight up a like a Wind Waker mini boss just waiting for you. I mean, luckily with the dash strike, that can help. I mean, I think what I had to do was stun him with a bomb and then get around behind him after he was stunned because the dash attack was not working for me.
Honestly felt like the Dark Nut should have been the mini boss fight to get the bow. And when Anthony mentioned that there was kind of a mini boss fight, I honestly thought at first the Dark Nut, and then I remembered that because it doesn't really make sense for him to be small, minish in a random little cave.
Yeah.
But he was a lot more challenging than that. Yeah, it was a little bit of an annoying fight. I just had to keep moving around like to the corners and getting side swipes on him at weird angles, trying to
Yeah.
dodge his axe.
Because he's got a big old shield and he actually uses it correctly, which is very frustrating in a 2D
Yeah.
game.
As soon as he turns towards you, you just can't hit him from the front at all.
Yeah. And I don't know if he follows the rules of Wind Waker Dark Nuts. In the game The Wind Waker, which we have not covered yet, but we will one day. There are enemies very similar to this. And what happens with them, aside from some cool combat mechanics that aren't in this game, which you can use to like take off their armor and do extra damage. There is a mechanic, like a hidden technique, where if you charge up a spin attack, they will also hold their sword back and like mirror your movements. They almost become an Anubis in that moment, and you can use that to kind of trick them into free hits.
Hmm.
And I think I tried it and it didn't work in this game, but there's also no Z targeting in this game, so I don't know if that's part of the problem or what. But yeah, it's just a much harder fight in 2D, I feel.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
funny.
don't
It's
know.
funny in the Wind Waker. That's like you got to play it to see that happen because
Gotta be there.
Pretty excited
it's
to play
not
that one.
perfect. Like you get too close to them, they will just swipe at you. Like they're not that dumb, but they do accept your challenge when you hold your sword back in a way that's amusing.
I haven't played Wind Waker in a long time.
Yeah, I mean it's on our list.
Yeah, it is.
I don't remember where it is on our list, but it's on our list. Don't worry. Yeah. So, like I said, like I don't think the other Kinstones.
Really that impactful.
Yeah, you just gotta find them in the swamp. It's like you got to get past the right Igor, go to the right cave, that kind of thing. Nothing too crazy.
Then we get some relationships with some totems,
Yeah.
and we
Did
move
any
on.
of you guys? Well, in the
There's the
swamp,
guy.
I was gonna say, did either of you guys find
Oh, the
Greyblade?
master. Yeah, super master, man.
Swiftblade the First? It's actually not Greyblade. I think Greyblade is somewhere else on the map, but there's a bunch of different blades. But this is Swiftblade the First, who has passed on.
He did.
He's a ghost that I'm assuming still has the power of possession, but also won't train us until we've learned every other technique. He's like our last stop. He presents himself as the finish line of the Blade family. So he basically says, "Yeah, if you find me here now, you're gonna come back later because you ain't gonna have everything you need yet." But he does give you a heart piece. There's one in his room. You can just kind of snatch it and run.
Yeah, he's just chilling.
So I looked him up on the wiki when I was playing through this, and it said that he was the first of the Blade brothers to win the contest at the Picori Festival, which was kind of cool.
He's an OG.
Yeah.
Yo.
I mean, he is Swiftblade the First, you know.
And he's dead.
It's crazy that he just like there's a gravestone above his dojo. So whoever buried him was like, yeah, he gonna need a dojo for the afterlife. Clearly,
He's gonna be training people for centuries to come.
no days off for Grandpa Swiftblade.
He can never leave his dojo again.
Gosh. But yeah, we make friends with them statues.
Swiftblade the Stuck.
Swiftblade the Stuck. Swiftblade the Mausoleum Guardian. He's just there. Training as always. Yeah, we make these statues happy. They all have serious stoic faces. They get happy when you give them the thing. They jump up in the air, jump for joy, smash onto the ground. Big old random cement block crumbles as they do this. Who designed this locking mechanism? Like, we're gonna have a big old sandstone block over here, and then we're just gonna rumble the ground exactly 3 times, which is precisely what's needed to get through.
A genius.
It's wild.
Scruffy the Minish technician.
A visionary,
The
yes.
Minish technician.
Yeah, he's like, I finished building, dude. Going to ground pound stuff. Going on break.
Back then, he wasn't always on break.
So how are people gonna open this? Oh, you see them 3 womps over there that I dressed up? Yeah. They gonna hit the ground real hard. Stuff going
Don't
on.
open it though. You know how hard it is to find a rock like that? Whew.
We had to pre-fracture the block to make it work right. That whole process cost so much.
That was the hardest part.
Prototyping was a mess.
2 years.
All right. So so we ruin their whole locking system and break into the land of the Wind Tribe, which we don't actually know that yet. So that's a little bit of a spoiler. But this is like their zone. We're in the Wind Ruins. And being in the Wind Ruins, we get to discover some ancient automaton that are kind of reminiscent of like Castle in the Sky type stuff. These little red dudes that some of them will just straight up start attacking the second you get near them, kind of like an old school Igor. And some of them are kind of just in your way, and you need to activate them before they'll react to you being near them.
The rule of thumb is if you want them to be on, they're off, and if you want them to be off, they're on.
Yeah.
So you know what's crazy
Basically.
is apparently the official names for these red statues, which like this just threw me off. So apparently the official names for these statues are Armos. So apparently Minish, which we officially learned, like I think right outside the first one, like created these things. But the things in the swamp are called Igors. So it's like they're backwards. Really
Well,
weird.
the Igors do look like the Igors in A Link to the Past, but they function differently. They function
They
like
function
the
like an Armos.
Armos. Yeah. Whereas these ones, yeah, if they're activated, they function more like the Igors did. Yeah, that is kind of odd. I think it's more just based on the visual then. But yeah, these ones have a little tech hub inside of them where they can get switched on or off. And like Cam said, if you want them to be on, they'll be off. There is one that is on already that you have to get into and turn it off. But a lot of the times, if they're on and they attack you immediately, then that's exactly what you want to happen. You just want to fight them. But yeah, it's part of the puzzle. They're designed where they have what looks like a zipper on the front of them, and as I guess from playing the rest of the game, you might realize that looks kind of like a Minish ladder that we've used to get into like Minish homes before, and so you can just climb up into them when you're
There's
Minish.
actually a Minish
Or in the control room.
little house outside the first one. You can go in there. I don't know his name, but he's like, "Did you know that we built those things? Yeah, Minish, we're crazy." And then he tells you can climb up in them.
The Minish were crazy. Why did we build these things?
They were built to help people, but yet they don't seem very helpful.
Well, I think they were protecting the Wind Tribe people because you can see they have so many defenses set up. I don't know what it was about this Wind Tribe that decided they needed all these defenses, but I don't think they were ever tested until now.
It didn't turn out well.
So we move on through this zone, solving all of these Armos puzzles until we find what appears to be like a big dugout ditch of a hole to get into the Temple of Winds, which seems a little bit ironic because you'd think that a Temple of Winds would be well above ground in a windy area. But it almost seems like the opposite is true. Like these were a very secretive people who buried their temple. So, yeah, a little bit of that going on.
I also found that odd.
They'll never
Wind
see it
temple
coming.
underground. Really though.
Yeah. And this temple is full of dirt. Or sand, I guess.
Skellies
I don't know.
and dead things.
Yeah. Cool temple.
Did not like it.
No, this one you didn't like?
I was Russian. I was confused.
Oh, right.
It was a gauntlet of just fighting enemies everywhere I went. They all respawned. There was wall masters. I about crap myself. I got so scared when I saw the first wall master. I was like, "Nope, you're scary." And Ocarina of Time, don't want to go near you. This whole place There was some cool
Yeah,
parts, but like,
because they had wall masters and floor masters in this one, right? Didn't they
Yep.
have like some hands just floating around too, and then some that fell from the ceiling?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, luckily it wasn't the endless wall master from A Link to the Past, where even if you kill them, they just keep coming back.
Hmm.
Once you take care of them, they are taken care of. So that was a positive. But yeah, speaking of A Link to the Past, they brought the jumping skeletons back.
Spooky, scary skeleton.
Hmm.
Yeah, basically.
And there's also like pretty early on in the dungeon, again with Link and his jumping. The guy should just be a professional like skydiver at this point because, well, okay, I guess he is in TOTK, but that's beside the point. There's a small key that you pull a lever, and then the key like falls from the ceiling down like 3 floors. It's a whole cutscene,
Yeah.
and
Because
then
they're
you just
introducing a mechanic that you're going to use a
go
couple
after
times.
it. You
Yeah.
just go after it,
I
and you
mean, if you,
land on solid cement. Your knees would buckle. What
yeah,
is going on with this
I
man's
mean,
genetics?
if you really wanted to go back down the stairs, I think that option is available, but the game is very much hinting that you should just jump into the hole after this key. That's what
Yeah,
I did.
there's no fall damage. Come on.
Come on, man. We got acrobat master flip wizard Link here. Like he Kane Apache's all over the place.
You
And
think
he's
he
got the
don't got
biggest
shins of
boots now.
steel, bro?
By this logic, he could just like kick Vati and he would disintegrate. The
Just
pounds of
One kick,
pressure
man.
that's under
just a
Link's
flying
legs.
donkey kick. Yeah. Go for it.
You know, there
Uh,
was a part in this dungeon that I got really stuck at. You guys want
yeah.
to venture a guess?
Finding the main item.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the one.
yeah. I thought that it was a little bit like I have a note. Like of all the notes I've taken, I only have 2 pages here. And I have very big idea notes, meaning they're not very detailed and not very helpful for what I'm talking about right now. But my note for this item is just the name of the item and then the word hidden because it was not obvious
No. It was awful.
what you were supposed to do or where you were supposed to go.
I backtracked and looked throughout like more than half of the dungeon before I was like,
And like right before, like around that area where you go to get the item, there's this bridge that is like ever so slightly so annoying.
Okay.
Do you remember the bridge?
I remember a couple of bridges in this temple.
Okay, actually, to be fair, yeah, there's a lot of bridges, but
is it
I'm
the
talking
runny
about the,
one?
yeah, it's like you pull a lever and you have to run to the left and engage your boots in this like slightest of fashions. You cannot be like, I want to say even a tenth of a second off, or you're gonna miss the chance. And
Yeah.
because on my phone there's no actual like buttons, I'm like I had to decrease the size of the joysticks to on my emulator to like actually be able to turn fast enough because I was falling and I couldn't make it. It frustrated me to no end. I fell probably like 6, 7 times just trying to get on this dang bridge.
This is one where you hit the switch, the bridge extends, you got to run across it, and then it falls behind you. Is that
Mhm.
Yeah.
one? Gotcha. Yeah, on the Wii U, it was pretty easy as long as you were just rolling. You could make it. You didn't
Oh,
even have to use the boots.
yeah, I wouldn't even dare attempt that on my phone.
Gotcha. But yeah, there's a couple of things. There's like a floating block bridge where you got to avoid a bunch of cubes that are just floating in the air. Um, there's a couple of weird spots like that. There's a bridge where you just got to shoot some eyes to get it to extend. There's another Dark Nut fight because why wouldn't there be?
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all this crazy, uh, this ruin diving experience, in one of the hallways, there's just two skulls on the left and right of a square tile, and that is all of the hint that you get
Yep.
for where you find the mole myths. This I don't remember how I found this the first time I played the game, but coming into it this time, the second I saw those two skulls in the empty spot, I pulled out the sword, poked the wall with it to see if it made a different noise, and it did. And I was like, "All right, that's a bomb wall." And I put down the bomb thinking I was gonna get a heart piece. And then when I walked in, it was like the mole myths. I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah.
Like that is wildly unfair. I really hope that you guys don't get stuck on that because that is gross.
Diabolical.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the square between the two skulls, and I thought it
Yeah.
was weird. And I probably passed it like at least 5 times. I looked it up, and then I was like, I saw the square. The square looked weird. I knew that maybe there was something with it. I'd Kane Apache'd it. I was like, there's got to be something with the square. I kept walking around. I was like, I went like all the way back to the beginning. I went right. I went up. I went like where there's like the room with the hole again. Then I went back, looked at the dungeon map, and I was like, there gotta be something. I went back to the room like near the Armoses. I was like, there's gotta be something. Or the Igors. I was like, there's gotta be something. Nope, there's not
Yeah.
over there. Went back to this room and I was like, okay, there's gotta be something here. And I looked it up and it's like, skulls.
Sounds
Yeah, that
like
was
we had
my
a pretty
adventure.
similar experience.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
All while being pressed for time, I was like, I gotta do this.
If I remember right, I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember if this was like a part where I really got stuck the first time I played or not. But there's a similar puzzle, and not coming up shortly. Like it's way down the line, so I'm gonna probably forget about it. Where I remember just getting stuck for the dumbest reasons. Some of the puzzles in this game are not very well telegraphed, where you don't realize what you're supposed to do, and sometimes it can get very frustrating. This one in particular was absolutely diabolical. Like there was no reason for them to do this thing, but they went ahead and did it.
Like, you're telling me that a 10-year-old kid in 2003 without a Prima strategy guide is going to go up to this wall and be like, oh, yeah, I can easily bomb that and go inside. Totally. No, you're wrong. There is no way. Unless this
Yeah.
kid has an IQ of 210, there's
So, once we get these moments and solve this ridiculous puzzle, the rest of the dungeon basically becomes a dig fest. Everywhere that there's big blocks of sand just covering things, you can just kind of dig through it now, which means you can get to all of the treasure chests you couldn't originally get to. I mean, there's a few more puzzles kind of littered in, but once you have the moments, the dungeon really opens up.
they also make you pull a lot of levers. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like from the moments to the end, I feel like I pulled like 12 to 15 of those like wall levers. I'm like, you guys really like using these wall things. Like, really do.
This dungeon has a lot of stuff. This dungeon has hands. This dungeon has giant rotating spike block things you have to jump into holes and also weave in between them when you're tiny. It has
I kind of
skeletons.
like that mechanic. That was pretty cool, actually.
It has dirt. It has digging. But it doesn't really have any tornadoes or wind.
It's got wizards.
Good point. It's got the opposite. It's almost like, but it was like they took the concept of an earth temple and a wind temple and just said, it's fine. It's all the same place. This is where the wind temple used to be a thing, and now it's not very windy anymore because nobody's here. Yeah.
You
But
did with a little
you're right.
dust.
It looks more like an earth temple, right? Because it's literally a cave. In fact, one might say that it's a little bit mosky. Like it kind of reminds me more of like what you would find in a desert rather than in a swamp,
Hmm.
you know, with all the sand and all the dirt and all the puzzles that appear as though they're from like an Egyptian tomb. A lot of death traps and things.
Not the death trap.
Honestly, playing this made me feel like kind of like solving the swamp felt like an Indiana Jones puzzle. It seemed like this was also an Indiana Jones temple. It's just everything like between the collapsing bridges and the giant spike wheels and just the nonsense that this temple put us through. That's the vibe I got.
I can
Plus,
see
we're
that.
literally digging things up like an archaeologist would, so you know.
Yeah. It's like those digging bits were actually hidden behind a wall, like hidden treasure.
Yeah. But it was fun. I mean, I like this dungeon. I know that somebody already said they didn't.
Well,
That I had fun with.
It was ups and downs. I'd say the downs
yeah,
weren't really worth the ups, but it was an okay dungeon, but I found it just a little annoying. Mainly just about the mitts.
Yeah.
yeah, and it was kind of drab. Like compared to the last two dungeons, the vibe was just drab. Like it was not much to look
Yeah.
at. The scenery. I mean, there was like skulls and stuff, I guess, and the dirt places were cool where you dig through and find kinstones and keys. But other than that, I mean, yeah, I'd say like what Cameron feels is like ups and downs. Downs were,
Gotcha.
A little worse
I
than
mean,
the ups.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
I want to
boss kind of
say,
made up for it, I guess, for this
I
dungeon for
did
me.
like
'Cause
the
that was
boss.
fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
I want to say that this is probably the most isolated of the dungeons too, because the whole swamp area, there's not really a lot of NPC action there. Uh, and similarly here, you just kind of feel like you're far away from civilization in this abandoned place that doesn't seem to serve a purpose anymore. And so like there's less flavor going on because of that too. Like it's just kind of a big puzzle box rather than the kind of adventure that we've been used to. Like the other two things we've had, like Minish literally outside the front door of the temple talking to us about their culture and whatever's going on. And this one's like, all right, we're like through the jungle and into the cave, you know, like there's nobody around. So there's definitely more of a send off, more of a solo adventure here. And I don't think the game does that to us again after this. Like I think this is probably the farthest out we have to go between NPC interactions and stuff like that too. And there's not another dungeon that looks like, you know, a pyramid or anything either. So yeah, I think it's gonna brighten up if that was a problem as well. But
Like the whole vibe of this place is just, hey, come back later.
yeah,
You know?
I get
Not
it.
only because the Master Swordsman is like, hey, come back later. But I mean, we haven't got there yet, but once we beat the boss, we also kind of get to a point where like, hey, let's come back later. I found that a little funny.
Yeah, I mean, we go through this whole place. I mean, I guess we've already kind of mentioned some of the key puzzles here, like the rolling spikes and all that. That was fun. But yeah, let's talk about this boss, I guess. This is if the Aztec vibes weren't hitting yet. I know I've kind
And
of jumped around between different pyramids on Earth, but
they're
yeah,
going strong here.
they're going strong here. We get
I mean, there's pyramids over in the Aztecs,
right.
not like Egyptian pyramids, but they got yeah.
Ones that are probably closer to a swamp. just to throw that out there, I guess.
And just like ever so many tropes in Zelda, we have the boss with floating hands that you shoot that sometimes have eyeballs in them.
Bongo bongo.
Right. Yeah, Bongo Bongo was like the OG, right? I don't remember any hand bosses in A Link to the Past, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that Bongo Bongo is probably our initial guy. But this is actually more like the boss from the Temple of the Gods in Wind Waker, which I don't remember the name of, so I'm gonna look it up again.
I don't remember much of anything from Wind Waker.
Godan, Gohdan. If you look him up, he's the guardian of the Tower of the Gods, and he literally like has a sun crown. Uh, if I remember right, shoots a bunch of like blasts out of his mouth at you while you're fighting him, but also has eyeballs built right into his hands, kind of like this guy does. This Mazal.
So, like, put this into perspective. The teensy tiny little boys, the Minish, they built this, bro, to defend their kingdom. That's, the size comparison of like it's two little Minish compared to this guy. That'd be like saying these guys just built like a cargo ship. And not only that, but a cargo ship that has sentient hands and shoots lasers. Like, the guys are crazy. Like, the ingenuity.
The ancient Minish tech team just engineering
This
these contraptions.
this whole robot laid out to them is like the size of Maryland. That's the one.
Okay.
All of it, the entirety.
Yeah, pretty much. Like this would be like an entire state. Compare like the size of the little Minish as they're rolling around. You got this massive thing here. It's like the moon.
Yeah. So this head with its two hands, fashioned in all red, green, and yellow pieces, much like the flowers from earlier. I believe it's supposed to be gold, though. I mean, I don't know if that's for sure. Gold has never really been like a precious metal in Zelda, compared to like rupees. But this thing floats around, tries to smack at you, swat at you. You shoot its hands. Eventually, it has a shrink ray, which I thought was like kind of a clever attack to have, because when it uses it against you, it just kind of makes you helpless in that moment. If you get hit by it.
Hmm.
But it's ironic because at the same time, once you get its hands shot down, you want to get inside this guy. Like there are Minish, like those blocks that you can jump into to go into like the thing's mouth and go into what appears to be some kind of conduit control room and start breaking this guy down from the inside.
And it gets really dusty in there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, eventually starts filling up with dirt, and you gotta moment your way through to find the right conduit. So it's a very detailed fight.
And then once you do, he gets one of the claw machine cranes to pick you back up and place you gently back outside, like a nice
Oh
guy that
yeah,
he is.
that was funny.
Right? Yeah.
So, like, my problem with this fight, I mean, the fight was awesome. I this was one of my favorite boss fights. So, like, it's not from like a gameplay standpoint. It's just from like a plot hole standpoint. Unless this thing is just completely non-sentient, I'm okay with. But like the Minish blocks, like if there was any shred of sentience within this robot, you just use one of his hands to smash the things. You can't get small anymore and go inside them.
Yeah. There's like a built-in blindness to all characters aside from Link and Eslo on the Minish things. Like the giant pots that you use in town or the stumps or whatever. Like nobody else seems to even realize that it's happening. Because you can jump onto the bottom of a pot right in the middle of a full bar of people and shrink down, and not one of them says, "Hey, why did that kid just disappear into that pot?" Like it's never a question.
Or hey, how did that kid just come out of that pot?
Right. So I think that this boss is just suffering from the same inability to perceive the Minish blocks because video games.
Plus, he sees through his hands, right? His hands have his eyes. So once you shoot his eyes out and he's all on the ground, he can't even see that you're going small anyways. He doesn't even know what's going on.
I guess.
That's it. Blind him first. And he doesn't even know. He thinks those blocks are for him.
He used to be a giant sentient robot until he took an arrow to the hand.
Oof.
Yep.
Now he's the temple guard.
Exactly.
So Skyrim aside, we defeat Mazal, and we get not an elemental bit, whatever they're called, right? I don't remember. They're just called elements in the game. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
one of the elements.
So we came here thinking we were going to get the wind element from the wind temple. Silly us. That wouldn't happen if, unless there had still been a wind tribe somewhere nearby. But we learn from the next section here, because we actually get up to the top of this where it does appear to be windy. To their credit, the top of the temple is exactly more so what you would expect from the Temple of Wind.
Fair enough.
And there's a bunch of colorful birds, and it's great, and it's very pretty. But you go up to this big block. It almost looks like a memorial of some kind. To me, it reminded me a little bit of like where you get the Sun Song in Ocarina of Time, except way above ground instead of way underground.
That's where you learn Fusroda.
Yeah, and on this big plaque, what we learn is that the Tribe of Winds, which used to own this place, mastered the winds and decided to join the winds and head for the skies, which is kind of cryptic. Some deep lore of the Minish Cap. Nobody has ever mentioned this before to us in the game. But they say that those who come seeking the power must play the notes Zephyr teaches. So Zephyr don't teach us nothing. But we do get the Ocarina of Wind.
Do-do-do.
Which looks remarkably like the Ocarina of Time. Except this is the Minish Cap, so it's different. When we play the song, the Zephyr who was supposed to teach us the song is actually the bird that allows us to fast travel.
Yo.
So I have a note here that Zephyr comes from the name Zephyr, which is a word meaning the west wind. And Zephyrus, Zephrys, was like the Greek god of wind. So basically, it all kind of plays back into the mythology bit. So we're getting the power of wind, which allows us to fast travel to all of those random wind shrines that we've been finding all over the place. Which means we can deliver kinstones faster than ever before.
Stop.
The Kinstone Mailman.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they gave us a ton of kinstones and then gave us a fast travel so that we don't have to run around anymore. We can just kind of fast travel to all the major points of civilization, and it becomes a lot easier to do stuff.
Nah, I ain't doing that.
I don't think we actually need the fast travel for anything else. So I don't remember this game asking for a ton of backtracking after this point, because you get fast travel. But like when we want to go back to Malari's mine to have them, I don't know, look at our stuff again or do more kinstone fusions with the mountain minish or whatever. Now you can just zip over there. You don't have to climb the whole mountain again. It's great.
But I gotta get the bomb bag.
Exactly.
So I will say a little lore bit here with the wind peoples and the Ocarina of Wind and all the wind and all this wind stuff. So the melody that you play when you do the fast travel stuff, I noticed was the same one as the one in the blanking on the name. The Legend of Zelda, like the original, the NES. I don't know. They just call it the Legend of Zelda. Zelda 1. It's the same song. They're like do 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 do. And I just remembered in that one, maybe it's a callback, I don't know, but in that one when you do fast travel with what is it, a flute? I don't remember what the
Yeah, I
instrument
think you
is in
get a
that game.
flute and just a straight up a whirlwind comes in
Right.
and picks you up off the screen.
So it's like the same beat to like the song. It's the same song. So it's like the Song of Wind. It's just and then it's the same power, man.
Go.
Callback.
It's Zephyr. In fact, wasn't there? I feel like there's been some more references to that. So in the Wind Waker, because I can't mention that enough apparently today, there's Cyclos and his brother Zephos. And if I remember right, Zephos teaches you the like his tomb or whatever. Like you go and you find his like there's a little memorial at Dragon Roost Island. And that's how you actually learn the song that controls the wind direction. And then Zephos comes up and is like, "Oh man, that was a really great wind you just made." But then tells you about his brother Cyclos, who ends up being the fast travel guy. But you have to shoot him out of a cyclone first to get him to cooperate with that. Because he's just throwing a tantrum all the time until you do that the first time. So, so the name Zephyr has been reused throughout the series. I don't know if the song that you play is anything like the fast travel song in this or the original Legend of Zelda. But the concept of being carried around by the wind and or a flying bird or other creature is for sure a huge theme throughout the entire series. Pretty great.
The winds of fate have sung their song.
So yeah, just some like super. I mean, the Zelda game being a Zelda game for this one, guys. I mean, this is what we came here for: puzzles, adventure, intrigue, battles,
Jumping skeletons,
all the things. Jumping Stelfos, Batman. But yeah, I mean that's where we're ending off for today. We get our fast travel. I think I used it at first just to go straight back to Castletown and then save my game and quit after that. So next time we can get into I don't even know what I'm thinking maybe another overworld episode where we just kind of chill and do stuff because I don't remember how far we got to go to get to the next thing. So
I went back to town and I was just like walking around a little bit. And who do I stumble upon? Is her name Melon in this game from Lon Lon Ranch? Did they use like Melon over again?
Talon and
can't
Talon
remember.
are in the ranch, yeah.
Okay, so it's Melon then. She's like walking around Hyrule town with like a cart and a cow, or like a wagon and a cow.
Just selling milk.
And I was like, oh, well, heck yeah. Like, I'm going to buy a couple bottles of milk then. And I go up there with my 100, and I think I had like, no, I think I had like over 200 because you get like lots of rupees from Caster Wilds in the dungeon. You get like 50 at a time.
Yeah.
I think I bought something. So, like, I think I had like 200 something left. And she was like, yeah, milk, you want some? 100 rupees? Highway robbery? What? I'm sorry. 100 rupees for a bottle of milk is like, what's it curing? Is it gonna give me stees? Like, I don't understand. Is it like a fairy? Like, My
You gotta
goodness. I was like,
support the
this is
local farm, man.
unlimited stamina. Like, what am I getting from this 100 rupee milk here? I just thought it was wild.
Yeah, I mean,
That is pretty pricey.
it is kind of
Like
wild.
in like some other games, it's like there's just like 40 rupees for like a bottle. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, some games give you like 2 drinks at the same time. Like, I don't know what the mechanic is in this game that makes it worth that. Maybe it's not. I don't know.
You get 6 drinks.
What?
I don't know.
What if you get a new bottle with milk in it? So you're buying a new empty bottle with milk in it.
Hmm. I didn't think of that possibility. I'll have to do it next time. I
Then it
play.
might actually be worth 100. I'd pay 100 rupees for an empty bottle, as dumb as that sounds. I'll buy anything for a nickel.
So yeah, I'm looking through to the future of the game right now. And what I'm seeing is that there is just a ridiculous amount of overworld things to do. So I think we might need another overworld. Just kind of do whatever you need to, do some side quests. I'm trying to find the key thing that you want to make sure that you do before the next time we record. And that is proving tricky because there's a lot of side stuff mentioned in this walkthrough.
It's like the open world games all over again.
I know, right? Suddenly we're playing an open world Zelda. What?
Who knew?
Oh my
Skyrim copied
gosh.
Minish Cap? What?
There's so much, guys.
Yo,
It looks like we need to find more footwear. So I guess if you find more footwear, you're ready for the next episode. But I would encourage you to do a ton of overworld stuff as well. So just kind of muck about and then get what you need for the next section. But oh my gosh, is this walkthrough extensive? There's no way I'm doing all of this. I'm just gonna do what I'm actually interested in. But yikes, that's a lot.
Game's really opening up now.
Yeah, game's opening up quite a bit. All right, so aside from all this talk that we just did, I'm just gonna mention next episode we're gonna look into some overworld stuff because there's just a lot to do. And then we'll stop right before we actually enter the next dungeon. But yeah, I think we should call it there. You guys mind if I button up this episode real quick?
Put a bow on it, man.
All right, cool stuff. All right, so this has been our episode of A for No, B for Yes, covering the Temple of Winds. Next episode, we're gonna be doing some side quests and whatnot, so be sure to check in for that. Otherwise, you can follow us on any of our socials, maybe on Spotify, maybe give us a review. Do whatever you want to help us out, or don't. It's up to you. It's all good. We won't take offense. But we'll catch you next time on A for No, B for Yes.
I'm eating almonds.
did you get all that, Steve?